Good evening, Professor. Here I would like to introduce my individual proposal, Corporate Governance and Accounting Information Quality in Tourism Industry under COVID-19 Pandemic. This is my content for my presentation. It contains 6 parts, including problem statement until reference. First, we focus on problem statement. Here, accounting information quality is crucial in maintaining the efficiency of financial market because market participants, such as investors, lenders, and regulators, rely on accounting information to make decisions. Second, the crisis triggered by COVID-19, which is extraneous, neither originate from corporate misbehavior nor by deficiencies in control system, differ significantly from recent systematic crises like Asian financial crisis in 1997 and the European sovereign debt crisis in 2011. Third, corporate governance has always been the primary concern in studies on financial crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic offers opportunity to examine how corporate governance mechanisms shape accounting information quality in order to survive from this crisis. And last, in the long term, the extraneous crisis like COVID-19 will trigger structural changes in corporate governance mechanism to secure accounting information quality to respond to occurrence of potential similar events. For literature gap, we found two. The first is both COVID-19 and government interventions will affect industries and countries differently. Especially the tourism industry was extremely hit by the lockdown policy worldwide. Therefore, this research argues that the COVID-19 crisis provides a unique opportunity to study how corporate governance and mechanisms affect accounting information quality. While second is scholars have analyzed empirically and theoretically for the role of corporate governance during the COVID-19 pandemic by examining data from stock markets worldwide. However, it is unclear how corporate governance mechanism mitigating effects on accounting information quality during the pandemic. For practical gap, corporate governance emphasizes monitoring and controlling, thereby enhance accounting information quality. Recent research on corporate governance on the COVID-19 rarely consider industry characteristics. It's urgent to evaluate how the accounting information quality of tourism industry vary during the COVID-19 pandemic. Second is exploring the current extraneous shock like COVID-19 will inform practice on certain corporate governance mechanisms may shield firms from the worst damages of the crisis or support them in recovery from it. The next is my research questions and research objectives. Here we find 3 research objectives. First is, what are the changes generated in corporate governance response in tourism industry under the influence of COVID-19? The corresponding objective is to discuss the changes of corporate governance response in tourism industry under the influence of COVID-19. The second research objective is to examine the accounting information quality of listed tourism companies of China under the influence of COVID-19. The third research objective is to examine the moderating role of corporate governance on the relationship between COVID-19 and accounting information quality in listed tourism companies of China. The third part is the research significance. For literature, this crisis triggered by COVID-19 is extraneous, differs from traditional systematic crises, which originate from the misbehavior and deficiencies in control system. This research provides unique research aspects to re-examine what kind of corporate governance aspects secure accounting information quality for firms to survive from this kind of extraneous crisis. So, government interventions hit the tourism industry is extremely bad than any other industry worldwide. This research complements discussions and provide additional evidence on this topic. For practical contribution, the empirical findings of this research will provide for policymakers to pay attention to policymaking, especially to secure accounting information quality during crisis. For supervision department to increase information dissemination, which could significantly curb information transparency and increasing efficiency of governance mechanism. And for financial market participants to know the focus point like board structure, ownership structure when they make proper and effective decisions during crisis period. Next part is my research, is my theoretical framework. Based on the relevant literature, we find several theories. First is information as mastery theory. Second is stewardship theory, agency theory, decision usefulness theory, and signaling theory. This research is involved with information as mastery theory and agency theory. For information as mastery theory, it refers to condition when one part in a relationship has more or better information than the other part. For example, internal controllers have more realistic understanding of corporate financial situation than external shareholders. So, the corporate governance regarded as an instrument to mitigating the information as mastery. For agency theory, the board of directors exists to provide oversight for a company's investor over both management and auditor of a company. A board of directors provides better oversight and helps to reduce information asymmetry, thereby mitigating the negative impact of COVID-19 on accounting information quality. For our theoretical framework, first, we will examine how COVID-19 affects corporate governance by the theory of corporate governance mechanism by the method of interview. Next, step 2, we will examine how COVID-19 affects accounting information quality of corporate. Based on the theory of information as mastery theory, developed relevant hypotheses. The third step, based on agency theory, we will examine the mitigating role of corporate governance plays in the COVID-19 background to secure accounting information quality of the company. Next part is the research methodology. This research follows the pragmatism theory, which considers practical consequences and real effects to be vital components of meaning and truth. Based on this philosophy, we developed a mixed method involved with qualitative data and quantitative data. Under the mixed method, we choose the exploratory sequential method, which collecting and analyzes the qualitative data first, then second, using quantitative data to validate qualitative findings. Then our research approach is combining interview and experiment. First, we will do semi-structured interview to achieve research objective 1. By the qualitative data from semi-structured interview, which reflect the theme of the research, these findings will be used to conceptualize the appropriate hypothesis variables in quantitative experiment. The second step is the quantitative data collect and analysis in order to achieve research objective 2 and 3 by examining econometric models and testing hypotheses. For research objective 1, we adopt a corporate governance mechanism which have been identified as influencing corporate performance during the COVID-19 crisis in several aspects, like risk management committee, board diversity, independent directors, foreign investors, institutional investors, concentration of ownership, CEO duality role, blockholders, and family ownership. Based on this theory, we developed 2 objectives in interview. First is to investigate the changes of above corporate governance mechanism response under the influence of COVID-19 in tourism industry. Second is to evaluate the influence of corporate governance mechanism response under the influence of COVID-19. For research objective 2, based on information as mastery theory, corporate governance regarded as an instrument to mitigating information as mastery between internal and external parties by securing the accounting information quality. Based on this theory, we developed the hypothesis 1. Accounting information quality is lower during the COVID-19 pandemic. For research objective 3, based on agency theory, which the board of directors is the core of corporate governance, we focus on 3 aspects. First is broad independence, implies more effective monitoring, which benefits for firms. Second is large board size, bring positive impacts, while third, CEO duality, brings negative impacts on firms' value and performance. Based on this theory, we developed 3 relevant hypotheses. First is board size has a positive effect on AIQ. Second is board independence has a positive effect on AIQ. The third one is CEO duality has a negative effect on AIQ during the COVID-19 pandemic. Then we will focus the definition of variables. For dependent variables, we examine the accounting information quality, which proxy by real earning management. Following the Rocho-Horowitz real earning management evaluation models, by examining normal and abnormal levels of cash flow from operations, disposable expense, and production cost, we construct REM to measure the accounting information quality. The higher level of REM, the lower level of accounting information quality. For independent variable, we use COVID-19 as a dummy. For moderating variables, we choose board size, which indicates the natural largeness of directors serving on a board. Board independence indicates the percentage of independent board members on a board, and the CEO duality as a dummy. For control variables, we adopt board company size, financial leverage ratio, return on asset, company growth, nature of ownership, and external auditor. Next, we focus on the data collection and analysis. For interview, we will interview members of CEO and partners or chairmen in 5 to 10 tourism companies by snowball sampling method. For experiment, we collect data from listed tourism companies in China by purposive sampling method. The data is from listed Asian tourism companies in Shanghai and the Shenzhen Stock Exchange market in China from 2017 to 2021 by purposive sampling, delete data from special treatment statute and supervision from trading, and automated method data on control variables. Our data is secondary quantitative data which obtained in SISMA database. For analysis, we use eViews or Stata software to do descriptive analysis, correlation analysis, multiple regression analysis, and robustness checking. This is all for my presentation, and this is the reference. Thank you for your watching.